this first and final look at Low Bar Bill's comments regarding the Sagan standard, the idea that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, let's turn our gaze at Bill's comments regarding the clear lack of extraordinary evidence for the resurrection.
This commonsensical slogan that extraordinary events require extraordinary evidence, I think, is demonstrably false. It misunderstands the probability calculus. Events which are extraordinary and therefore highly improbable relative to the background evidence can nevertheless turn out to be highly probable if the evidence on the hypothesis is much more probable than the evidence would be if the hypothesis were false. And so it's just, I think, demonstrably wrong to mouth this slogan that extraordinary events require extraordinary evidence.
Okay, first off, please note Bill's disingenuous word change from extraordinary claims to extraordinary events, which implies we do indeed have an actual extraordinary event when we don't. We have only the extraordinary claims of an extraordinary event. Damn, he's a sneaky bastard. More on this in a moment. So what is the probability calculus for what is literally the most extraordinary claim in human history? Not just that a man rose from the dead, but that this man was also the one and only, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God of the universe, creator of everything, literally every atom, quark, boson, all the forces of nature, etc. Well, I'm no mathematologist, so I can't actually do those calculations. If you know someone who can, as if the probability for this claim is even something which can be calculated, please direct them to the comments section here so we can all understand just how astronomically improbable that claim would be. The background evidence is that there have been over 100 billion people who've lived on Earth, and to the best of our knowledge, not a single one of them have ever risen from the dead, let alone been the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving creator of the universe, whose very existence is, as the kids say, sus. What about the evidence on the hypothesis versus the evidence if the hypothesis were false? Well, the evidence on the hypothesis is non-existent. All we have are claims made by anonymous third-party non-eyewitnesses who wrote about events of which they had no personal knowledge, after decades of certain legendary development and embellishment, written in another language, the original copies of which have been entirely lost to history. Nothing to see here. The evidence for the hypothesis being false is best presented by my Canadian brother Paulogia. It's straightforward, simple, and makes no extraordinary claim. Jesus died on the cross, and like virtually all crucifixion victims, he was either left on the cross to be scavenged or buried in a mass grave. Done. Given the background evidence on how the crucified were treated, Jesus getting a proper burial is yet another extraordinary claim. And since the man who supposedly offered Jesus his tomb, Joseph of Arimathea, cannot be located in history, appearing only for this purpose in the narrative and then completely disappearing from the timeline, the empty tomb is simply another towering improbability. As for the others who allegedly saw Jesus, all we have are the claims of anonymous third-party non-eyewitnesses writing decades later. I would refer you, as Paulogia does, to common grief hallucinations to explain the other visions, but given the complete lack of direct attestation and the presumption of the background evidence, it would be silly to think that anyone actually saw someone genuinely risen from the dead. Having no evidence beyond the belated claims of people with no direct knowledge of the events would be insufficient even for a claim only slightly extraordinary. Bill understands this. Listen to his take on the Garden of Eden story, another extraordinary claim for which even Bill finds no extraordinary evidence sufficient to warrant belief.
I mean, when you read a story about two people in an arboretum with these magical trees whose fruit, if you eat it, will grant you immortality or knowledge of good and evil, and then there's this talking snake who comes along and tempts them into sin. And then you have this anthropomorphic God walking in the cool of the garden, calling out audibly to Adam in his hideout. You think, well, of course this is figurative.
From now on, I would like us all to embrace what I'm going to grandiosely call the deity standard. Supernatural claims require supernatural evidence. If all you have are claims and arguments regarding an allegedly supernatural event, which you admittedly believe because of how good that belief makes you feel in light of some other equally unproven benefits you imagine and desperately desire, you need to sit the f*** down and shut the f*** up. Once again, I'm me. Thanks for watching.